Before we get stuck into the painting, I wanted to let you know about my online course. With a growing collection of weekly videos, there's always something new to look forward to. Click the button in the top right to sign up today. Now, over to the easel. When I'm starting a painting, there's certain subjects that I think to myself, okay, maybe not the most complex of shapes, but it's complex in value, or there's some complexity that I know that I'm going to have to, or I'm going to need to be on my game, really getting things correct early on, or I will completely struggle. And I like to think of it as the importance of technique. That's where I really need to be thinking light and dark, warm and cold. How are my shapes? How are my edges? Because if I stray from that process, that's when the painting will really start to fall apart, and then that normally means that it's going to end up a bit of a disaster. So it's technique. So with this one, I was knowing that I was going to have a grouping of quite tricky shapes, and I did enhance the scene. This is a little scene from Roswell, just north of Atlanta, and there's so many quaint little houses. And so I've been sitting on this subject for 4 or 5 years now. But all in good time. I actually drew the scene, or a couple of the buildings. I actually have to remember, I would have to check my drawing book. But I always thought a figure or something in a cow's not really applicable, but a couple of chickens are perfect. So I did introduce those via Procreate into that foreground, and you'll notice where I've placed it, I've put the bottom left red-brown chicken, I forget the names of them, not Rhode Island red, there is a name for that type, and then I've got the black chicken, the smaller shape, right at the front of the stairs. So I'm able to leapfrog some of the horizontal lines by superimposing those chickens, which also creates a nice lead in to the front steps, the front door. And so I'm coming in quite clean. One of the lightest, cleanest values is the one just above, or the rooftop, or just below the chimney. That's where the biggest area of light, even though the secondary focal area is that right-hand side, and that's still actually the underpainted board at this stage. And I think probably the area that could have caused me the most concern, technically, is actually the background, because it's very easy to overdo it, wanting to get all those leaves and the little sky holes. It's so easy to overdo that area. But that's why I'm leaving it to quite late in the painting's life process, because I do believe, say if we were to think of this as a train or a boat or a something different, if I get that shape to work, I then just need to simplify the background, get that foreground to work, because ultimately that is the closest shape, but it's such a big shape in the visual narrative. If I get that to work, then in most regards things do fall into place. And there were some screens and windows and little trimmings on this area in that underneath that awning, and I had to be careful not to overdo it. So I found myself painting things in and then removing X amount of information. And it's not a bad thing, because that's normally goes hand in hand with the editing process anyway. And we are able, with oil paint, acrylics, pastels, not so much with watercolour, we are able to change our mind and even scrape a few areas off and start again if need be. As a painter, we don't like to have to do that, but that's definitely par for the course. And this was, I think it was summer, so there was a lot of foliage out. Wasn't quite fall yet, but it was heading towards full colours. So this is where I'm looking for my sharpest edges. This is where that brush technique really does come into play to really control. And I was a little worried that I wasn't going to get enough depth and distance from the front steps, which is just above the two chickens on the left, to my feet. So that, probably about 15 to 20 yards. In still life and interiors, that's a million miles. But sometimes it's tricky to know if I'm going to get the illusion of depth, and that normally comes via my edges, as I mentioned in that few different technical little ideas: light, dark, warm, cold, shapes, edges. And the other thing to remember with my technique is to step back as often as possible. That's where I'll be really employing the sharpest edges where I need the viewer to go. And you can see that on the right-hand side of the building, I've actually just blurred, there's a window, that closest edge, I've just blurred that a little, so as a shape it's not pulling focus from the rooftop or the chickens in the bottom left. And I've got a bit of a variety of chickens there just to make it interesting. And there is a little log in the foreground, a little bit of fallen log. I'm not sure why it hasn't been cleaned up, but it did provide us with some nice little darks and a few nice little shapes to create some more little counteracting little edges as well, just so I get a nice zigzag, a little bit of an S shape to that shadow in the foreground. It's not just all horizontal, because the tricky part I think with that foreground was that it was such a dappled light. There was lots of leaves on the ground. It did make for a difficult shape to analyse, to get to work as well. But that's where simplification is always the number one, and that comes with the technique as well. The art of simplification, telling that message that we want the viewer to respond to. So it looks about time to bring in the chimney, put in a few little branches. Well and truly, more stepping back now than at the very start. I do tend to step back a little bit in the mid-time, but definitely right at the end. It's more thought, less painting.